Folks, we're live. And now we're really live.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. I gotta hit stop. I pulled a run. We made it. We actually made it. So we are now recording, and yeah, this is super exciting. We made it. Holy cow, we made it. Oh, it's still running? Stop. There we go. All right, and then I should probably... Hey, look, it's me. It's the two of us. Ron, put your camera back on.
I didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything? Wait, hold on a second.
It's got bad Wi-Fi or something.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to hang up with you on the phone. All right, bye. All right, I was on the phone. Oh, look, there's Ron out in the wild. Holy cow. Just like a peasant should be. He's out under the trees looking for a spot without highway noise. It's great. Oh, it's great. Ron, you're going to love this first video. It is one of the best. You got to check this out. Okay. So this is, oops, wrong screen share. This is Mitch McConnell. And you know who Mitch McConnell is, right? Of course you do. So Mitch McConnell he was the former majority leader of the Senate, and he's been around pretty much as long as Nancy Pelosi, like since the mid-90s. Well, he was doing a press conference yesterday, if it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, being asked about why he voted against Donald Trump's bill. Check this out. This is incredible. All right, let me flip it over here. This is incredible.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
He just froze. He
Did
went
you hear
dead
the question,
silent.
Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator. Penny.
This is one of the big power brokers in Washington. Look at this. Like, he's funding John Cornyn's Senate run and a bunch. I mean, how is this guy still in office? If he freezes up like that, what's going on
Somebody
here?
else have a question?
Of course,
Please
we have
speak
no
up.
transparency.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
He just froze up. I think that's the craziest thing. Like, we just had the chairman of the Appropriations Committee that was in a mental or a assisted care facility for people with mental questions, and she was still a sitting committee head. And then you've got, Dianne Feinstein, who was asking duplicate questions in hearings and in committee hearings, and she died in office. I mean, we've had multiple people like this that have been very ill or essentially lost their mental acuity while in office. Like, I guess if Joe Biden can do it, everybody can do it, right? Yeah, exactly. Sapphire Patriot. Is he still alive? Smash that like now, please. So, good morning, peasants. Good morning, Weedham boys. And you were already gold. You were not AI. I know, right? It's totally different. And we got a closer camera angle. Hi. You can like zoom in on me. You can see my baby blues. Anyways, so fun. Give him a cognitive test. All of them over 70 should have one. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. I guess if I'm at a loss when it comes to this. I'm just like, this is not the first time he's frozen up, and he's still doing it. So it wasn't like a medication problem or something like that. It's no bueno at all. I don't. It just makes me uncomfortable. The other thing that happened is yesterday, this clip went went around. I'm pretty sure it was from yesterday, and this is John John Rowe. Make sure I got it here. All right, so this is John Rowe and Mike Rowe, excuse me, said John Rowe. John Rowe was my roommate that was being charged with espionage in Philadelphia. That's John Rowe. This is Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs fame, who's never really been a blue collar worker, but he really represents that class. Oh, maybe not. Where's my sound? What are we doing here? We'll figure it out. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we're definitely not AI. Okay, let's see. Try this again. Oh, I got to share.
They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC.
Okay,
they're
hold
not
on.
kids.
Back to the beginning.
We've been telling kids for 15 years to code. Learn to code, we said. Yeah, well, AI is coming for the coders. They're not coming for the welders. They're not coming for the plumbers. They're not coming for the steam fitters or the pipe fitters or the HVAC. They're not coming for the electricians. You know, that Ideas Festival I was telling you about in Aspen, I sat there and listened to Larry Fink say we need 500,000 electricians in the next couple of years. Not hyperbole. This is me being the alarmist again. There's not a week that goes by in my humble little foundation. It's called MicroWorks, shameless plug. We award work ethic scholarships every year, right, to kids who want to learn a skill that's in demand. These are trade school scholarships. Not a week goes by where I don't get a phone call from somebody like the Blue Forge Alliance, who oversees our maritime industrial base. That's 15,000 individual companies who are collectively charged with building and delivering 3 nuclear-powered subs to the Navy every year for 10 years, right? 2 Virginia, 1 Columbia class. Mind-bogglingly complicated. This guy calls and says, we're having a hell of a time finding tradespeople. Can you help? I said, I don't know, man. It's pretty skinny out there. How many do you need? He says 140,000. 140,000. Now, granted, over 7 years, but they need 80, 90,000 right now. These are our submarines, folks, right? Things go hypersonic, little sideways with China, Taiwan, whatever. Our aircraft carriers are no longer the point of the spear. They're vulnerable. Our submarines matter. And these guys have a pinch point because they can't find welders and electricians to get them built. Where are they? They said. We've looked everywhere. Do you know? I said, yeah, I know where they are. They're in the 8th grade, man. They're in the 8th grade. And the same thing, the automotive industry needs 80,000 collision repair and technicians. Energy, I don't even know what the number is. I hear 300, I hear 500,000 everywhere. So not to filibuster, but that's the underlying thing that I just really hope people take from this conference. There is a clear and present freak out going on right now. I've heard from 6 governors in the last 6 months. I've heard from the heads of major companies in the country. It's like a memo has gone out. And people are realizing, you know something? We need to tend to this, both on the PR side and on the demographic. I don't know what to do about the retiring demography. I don't know what to do about 7 million able-bodied men choosing not to work. But I do know that the message to the young men and women in this state that a bright future awaits if they would but learn a skill that's in demand, that's going to resonate politically. That's going to resonate practically. It's going to move the needle.
When I was in college, I got married like after I was engaged basically when I first went to college. So I knew that I needed to get through college pretty quick. I got married after the first semester, and that first semester I took your normal class load, right? I don't know, 12, 14 credits, something like that. And then I I got married and I went and met with the guidance counselor and I was like, okay, here's all my interests. She did the thing. What are your interests? What do you want to do? And I laid out all my interests and I fell into a couple different categories. And one of them had political science. And I was also at this point, I became active in the ROTC. So I thought my career path was probably going to be the military. So I just needed to get a degree. But at the same time, I wanted to have a degree that gave me options. So we looked at political science and she laid out, oh, here's the different jobs you can do. And I just thought that sounds great. So I fast tracked my college degree, and in 2 years, I finished my bachelor's degree. We ended up having a kid, and I was working midnights. It was brutal. My last semester in college, right? So I'm in my graduating semester, and the political science department at the school I was going to was fairly new. So they hadn't had that as a designated major prior to that. It was just a minor that you could get. So I was like the second or third class that had this major. And the year before me, the girl that was like basically the head of the poli sci department, she was the TA for some of the main professors. And I don't know if she was a valedictorian, but either way, she was like top of the class and she was the role model political science student. Well, I'm with my family and I go to this little place called Riot Zone. And what Riot Zone was it was a bumper carts and it had some really small roller coasters and it's mostly just a carnival, right? It wasn't a big place. It was called Riot Zone. It's in Rigby, Idaho. And I go to buy tickets and there she is selling tickets. And I'm like, she can't be making more than back then minimum wage was still like $6 an hour. I'm like, she can't be making more than $6, $7, $8 an hour. She's selling tickets at Riot Zone. So when I get up to the window, I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? What have you been up to? She's like, oh, I've just been working here. And I was like, well, are you going to be like moving to Washington, D.C.? Are you going to be interning with a senator? Like, what are you going to be doing? She's like, oh, no, I just been really struggling to find a job. Now, keep in mind, this is like the end of 2007. So the recession is just starting. So a lot of companies had stopped hiring and stuff like that. But one of the stark realities was there are not a lot of jobs for a political scientist. What are you going to do? Go work at Gallup and just do online phone surveys? Like, to pursue political science, you usually got to continue on and go to become a master's or a PhD. And it just, all of a sudden, the reality of how stark the future was for me was rough. And at that time, I'd gotten a job being a low voltage electrician installing the electrical stuff for HVAC systems in jails and hospitals and schools and all kinds of commercial buildings, big, huge air handlers getting wired up. And I was doing all that. So I was in a trade. And to me, it was just a job. It was just a job to pay the bills while I rushed through school. I was working midnights at the hotel. I was working at this job 8 hours a day, and I was pulling off my class schedule. I was fortunate because I was like the satellite guy. So I could go to class, go back to the hospital and keep working, go to class, go back to the hospital, keep working. So I'd get my 8 hours in, but I'd break it up like 2 hours, 3 hours, because I'd be jumping in and out of classes. And it was right next to campus where I was working. I came to the realization that that was basically my future. I was never going to be able to leave that job because I was already making like $13 an hour, which back then was probably more like 22 or 21 equivalency, which was way more than all my peers in this college town were making working at call centers and stuff like that. And so I was like broken. And I'd already decided at that point, I was not going to continue on with my Army commission because, the war on terror in Iraq and blah, blah, blah. And so I just was like, wow. Now, eventually I realized I had to be a business owner and I started doing real estate investing and I never got a job after that all the way till today. I've pretty much worked on my own. But it was one of those things where I realized I had basically wasted my college degree. As far as the investment I'd made and the ROI, I still use it. Obviously, you guys hear me talking about politics. A lot of that is based on the stuff I learned and understanding politics, but holy smokes, like that's the problem. We all get sold this idea of go to school, get a good job, get good grades, or get good grades and get a good job and it'll all work out. And what Mike Rowe is saying here is that's not really the case, right? A lot of those kids that we've been telling to learn to code and stuff like that, AI is replacing them as we speak. What are they going to do? So if you're up and coming, or you've got kids or grandkids that are up and coming, really consider sitting down with them and sharing with them the benefits of being a tradesman, whether working or working your way up to owning one of those businesses. But that working with your hands element is not going to be going away very soon. I mean, there, unless you listen to Donald Trump and he starts saying robots will be doing a lot of it. But either way, Shantini, good morning. Yes, good morning. Sapphire Patriot. So she had mentioned that there was a Minnesota senator arrested for burglary. And she says she broke into her stepmother's home to get her dad's ashes and documents, yet still being paid by the taxpayer. She broke into her dad's home to get the ashes. That's weird. So he passed away. Interesting. I wonder if she considered it burglary when she did it. Probably not. Very interesting. Yeah, farming is the future. Yes, farming is the future. Farming is the past. Farming is the present. Farming is critical. That's one of the things I learned at the end of college was there's 3 things that the demand never goes away. And really you could probably add in a third, or fourth: food, water, shelter. And now you could definitely add in energy. These are things that are never going away. Entertainment, people will cut those budgets. They're still going to try to keep the lights on. Food, water, without that, you're dead. Shelter, you ain't going long without that. So all of those things, anywhere that you can invest or create your income or living in those areas, you're going to be way better served. Definitely. Okay. So the other thing that happened yesterday was Donald Trump said something that he's mentioned before, and I've wondered if maybe he was dropping it, like he wasn't going to continue with this, but it sounds like he's still seriously working on it.
And yeah, I have the real shot. We're taking in tremendous amounts of money. You saw that we had a $25 billion surplus last month.
Yeah.
And the tariffs haven't really started by comparison to what they will be. You know, we're doing them on cars right now, cars and steel mostly. But the other ones kick in on August 1st, and they're very substantial. And the answer is, yeah, I think there's a real shot. I actually say there's a shot at, we have the Internal Revenue Service. We could use the External Revenue Service, and we wouldn't even need the Internal Revenue Service. But the money is very substantial. It's hundreds of billions of dollars. And
hundreds of billions of dollars coming in from tariffs. And Trump is talking about creating getting rid of the IRS completely. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. You know, what's that saying? 3 things are certain, or death and tax, or 2 things are certain, death and taxes. It would be so cool if they got rid of the IRS. Could you imagine what it would be like to be able to just earn your money and only pay basically sales tax, which would be an external revenue service? I can explain that later, but essentially it's public to private. And so public is separate. So, you'd have that, sales taxes and tariffs. It's basically the same thing as opposed to an income tax. I think that's brilliant. If you're a consumer, you pay a little fee at the door, and if you're shipping into the United States and you're a seller, you're paying the fee. I think it's the best way to do it. I'd love to see that. That would be pretty dang cool. Along those lines with getting rid of the IRS, Tim Burkhart came out last night after having a late meeting with the White House over this Genius Act. So the Genius Act is a bill dealing with cryptocurrency and some other tech stuff. And there's been, criticism both ways. Well, Tim Burkhart last night went in and had this meeting, and he was holding up his vote on the Genius Act because he was concerned about cryptocurrency being tracked by Big Brother, as he calls it, or being tracked by the government. And so when I saw this, I was really excited. This is what Tim Burkhart says. They made a compromise last night with the White House. Oops, I was sharing my screen and then it stopped sharing my screen. Let me share it again. All right. So he said this.
Hey, everybody, Tim Burchett. It's raining like cats and dogs, lightning striking. Anyway, we just worked it out on the cryptocurrency, and what we were concerned about was the ability of the federal government to track it in a unnatural way, unlike you can't really track cash, and very Big Brother-esque, the central banking thing. And so we were able to get that worked out, an agreement um, with the White House and leadership, House and Senate. So hopefully we'll get this thing worked out. And so I went on and voted yes on the cryptocurrency bill. So it's real storm back there. Anyway, late night. Still got to go do an interview on the CNN, as they say. And but we did what we set out to do. We went a little slower, and guess what? We got there a little faster. So thank y'all for sending me here. And Big Brother loses once again.
And Big Brother loses once again. So what they were going to do in the Genius Act, or in the way they were kind of setting that up, was it was going to allow the government to be able to track cryptocurrencies. Well, they can't track cash, right? And so that allows us an ability to live in private, and it's incredibly important to keep cash. Putting us onto the control grid, as Catherine Austin Fitts talks about, would have required them tracking all the money. If they can track the money, they can turn off the money. They can incentivize what you purchase. Oh, your carbon score is too high, you can't buy anything. Or, oh, you're too fat, no pizza for you, only celery, right? They could do that by controlling the digital currency. And they don't need it to be necessarily blockchain. They can just do it if you're using Visa or anything like that. And trust me, I know this. I got debanked. I got a letter from Wells Fargo, who I had been banking with since I was 14 years old, that after January 6th said, you can't bank with us anymore, right? They were able to just cut off my ability to bank. That's if we didn't have cash, it would have been really difficult for me to survive, right? And even cash makes it a little bit difficult, but at least it's possible because you can go spend cash. Well, with cryptocurrency, one of the advantages is it's outside of the Federal Reserve System, right? That's the whole point of it. And they wanted to basically create an interface where the IRS and Federal Reserve could track crypto. Not good. So the fact that they did that is a great thing. Keep crypto private where it should be. Yes, Sapphire Patriot, leave crypto private, no Big Brother involvement. So I was excited to see this from Tim Burchart. I'd kind of honestly, to be right, my expectations are so low. I had expected them to start tracking cryptocurrencies and going after it. They already do that. If you're using crypto in a wallet like Robinhood or Coinbase or something like that, the IRS is already seeing those transactions through the Robinhood or through the Coinbase side of things. They're not seeing it from your side, but they're seeing it from their side. I have a friend who got a letter from the IRS asking for like $90,000 in taxes owed. And when he, was going through this thing, basically they were monitoring his crypto exchange account, which was, I think, Robinhood. And he'd made a lot of basically meme coin trades, right? He'd lost money trading cryptocurrencies. He'd lost like $1,500. Wasn't a ton, but he'd basically lost his entire investment that his wife made. But because he'd made all these little transactions, buying 10,000 coins for 0.01 cent and stuff like that, every time he bought and sold, the IRS somehow extrapolated a dollar value from that, because they don't know the actual value of a meme coin. They just see these transactions of 10,000, and they sent him this bill, and he sent them all the account statements from Robinhood, and they're still trying to say he owes $90,000 when he lost $1,500, right? Like, he shouldn't even have taxes at all. There was no gain. You can't write it off, but they're trying to tax him for it. So I'm glad to see that they're basically going to keep them out of the crypto business. As of right now, if you want to use crypto effectively, really, you got to keep it on a wallet that's not attached to some big entity. It's a separate wallet, and best you never put your name on anything attached to that wallet. But pretty interesting. So I'm excited that IRS might be going away, and I'm definitely excited that they maintained the cryptocurrency privacy. That's a pretty big deal. We lost Ron. I don't know where Ron went. Ron, are you coming back? He left a while ago. I need my buddy. Most crypto, like Bitcoin, this is from Frazier, like Bitcoin uses blockchains, but you can't use pseudonym names until that name is linked to you. But you can use pseudonym names until that name is linked to you. Yes. And that's what they were trying to do, was to start tracking all that stuff and figure out your, pseudonyms. It's interesting because, like, on X, I can go on and I can anonymously post. except it's not really that anonymous because I have a device ID and I have a IP address and stuff like that. So they'll figure it out. When you research into like how Google and Facebook and these different tracking companies track you, that's how they do it. They do it through your device, first is cookies, then through your device ID, your IP address, and all that stuff. VPNs can take you far, but they're not going to take you past the device IDs and stuff like that. So if they want to find you, they have the capacity. That's one thing I've learned. That's why the burner phone concept of take a burner phone, do your business, throw it away, because that device ID was unique. They haven't flagged it yet, and then it isn't really attached to you. Maintaining privacy is a difficult thing, and but it's our duty to do it. It's our duty to do it. Otherwise, if you have no privacy, you're basically living in slavery. There's a quote from, I can't remember exactly who the quote is from, but he says, the debate is not between security and privacy. It's between liberty and control. Yeah. So, oh, Ron, you came back. You came back. Speak. Can you speak? Maybe.
Maybe. Can you hear me? Turn on camera, join the stage. Yeah, there I am.
Oh, there you go. You look like you're staying in a Holiday Inn.
It's Marriott.
Just as good. Oh, that's funny. Glad to have you back. Ron, have you seen what's been going on weather-wise and an Earth event-wise recently?
No.
Okay, so the next two videos I'm going to show you, these are TikTok videos, and my wife saw them. They're real. So yesterday, in fact, you know what? Before we do that, I'm going to check Grok. Here's my question. Did Alaska have a 7.3 earthquake recently?
I did get a tsunami warning notice on my phone yesterday.
Where are you at?
Well, I got it for Alaska.
Oh, it was for Alaska. Okay, so yesterday, Alaska experienced a 7.3 magnitude earthquake on July 16th, 2025 at 12:37 p.m. Alaska time, located 55 miles south of Sand Point in the Aleutian Islands. The quake triggered a tsunami warning for a 700-mile stretch of Alaska's southern coast, which was later downgraded to an advisory canceled by 2:42 p.m. A small tsunami wave of about 0.2 feet was observed at Sand Point. The earthquake was felt as far as Anchorage and Juneau, with no significant damage reported. At least 40 aftershocks occurred within the first 3 hours, the largest being a 5.2. This event is part of a series of large earthquakes in the region since 2020, linked to a seismic activity of the active Alaska Aleutian megathrust.
So I've been to Sandpoint.
Okay.
And there's not much there, and I would be surprised if they would notice a 0.2 rise of anything there.
Yeah. So this is videos coming out of that yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so check this out. Can you see the shape in here? Look at this blonde. See it going back and forth? I don't know. To me, that feels like a pretty significant.
I'll tell you what. There. That's not Sandpoint. That's not Alaska.
No?
Here. Oh my God.
Where it is.
Earthquake. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're right. There's a bunch of Asian people in a mall.
None of the vegetation was right in that first video.
This is definitely an Asian guy. Does that look like Sandpoint? There's a tsunami. There's no way. We'd be all over the news. Oh. So, again, here we go. We're only as good as the information we get. There was a 7.3 magnitude earthquake yesterday. This video is clickbait. Okay. Wow. Which, again, that's why I prefaced it. I was like, I'm pretty sure this happened, but it didn't. Or at least not that way. Here's another one. This is Yellowstone. Have you heard about the animals coming out of Yellowstone?
No.
Oh, this is crazy. So my wife saw this, and again, this could just be a bunch of videos stitched together of animals just normally moving around, or there could be something to this. And again, my wife brought this to me, and I'd seen it, and I was like, oh, there's something to this. What's going on with the audio here? I have audio. Let's see.
That was a good tease.
I wonder if it's because you and I.
Oh, you got to put it on presentation.
It's on presentation.
Okay.
Well, this is a little scary. So I've started.
Here, let's you and I mute and see if that does it.
Is this the video?
Yeah.
I can tell you right now. I know what this is.
What is it?
To see a lot of videos about Yellowstone.
Bison,
you know, Yellowstone National Park sits on one of the largest active volcanoes in the world.
So what they're saying, let's
well,
ask
over
Brock.
the past few weeks, all the animals have started to evacuate Yellowstone. Go look it up. First, they had like mountain lions leaving, like in a pack. Then they had all the bears, grizzly bears, which are solitary animals, are leaving in packs.
It's saying these animals are leaving.
Then herds of buffalo running down the road,
no
trying to get the fuck out of Yellowstone. Okay. Then this morning I saw a fucking herd of elk is leaving Yellowstone.
Okay, so it's saying Brock is saying
I
that
just started thinking about that movie 2012.
So basically, what was
I feel like every
what
time
this
I turn
video
on my
was
phone,
saying,
it's like,
and there were a couple other videos of this too, like with all the individual videos saying the animals are fleeing Yellowstone, that they're taking off, that they're leaving in droves. Like you're all these grizzlies walking together. You know, obviously elk and bison are going to move, and you can capture a picture of that. But this to me seems a little unusual. Just all the bears just. What?
That's gotta be a fake video, dude.
I don't know. Well, it's fake. There's no evidence that animals are fleeing Yellowstone, and Grok says it's debunked, so I have to trust it. Yeah. You know, I mean, Grok's got to be right. Grok's
so
got to be right.
Now we're back to full trusting AI.
Yeah. Hey, this is why we kind of try to check, and I preface it like, here's a video. It looks pretty funky. If animals are getting out of Yellowstone, I'd be like, I'd leave Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and I'd leave all those states right now. Yeah. Okay. The other one here is Lee Zeldin, and I hope I can get sound here. I'm not sure exactly why we weren't getting sound. So this is Lee Zeldin talking about weather modification with Ben.
Why would the government ever allow?
All right, now I got to figure out the sound. Ron, you came on and our sound dropped on the videos. Why is that? Isn't this great, you guys? You get to watch us figure this out. Okay. Also share audio, tab audio. Okay, share.
Why would the government ever allow any weather modification?
What is the deal here?
Like, is God not good enough? I don't understand.
So there is proponents believe that.
Okay, can you guys hear that now?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Ever allow any weather modification? Like, is God not good enough? I don't understand.
So there is proponents believe that we should be combating global warming by deflecting sun rays off of the Earth. That we should be, using clouds to be able to make sure that we're not getting heated here at Earth's surface. These are very simple points here in an interview as to what type of arguments get made. And then there are others who are just interested in the science and the research. And again, what you decide to do inside of a lab, inside of a university that is controlled is one thing, but starting to experiment by releasing sulfur dioxide out into the environment and just telling the American, giving the middle finger to the American public and the U.S. government and saying, we're just going to do it anyway, you can't stop us. Well, that's something that we all should have a problem with. Yes. And as far as the weather modification, the cloud seeding, arguments have been made that to combat droughts, to help with keeping farms and agriculture receiving the precipitation that is believed to be needed to keep the crops growing, that they feel that it's a good thing to pursue that cloud seeding. That, again, I'm just answering your question as to the arguments that I have heard in favor of it as far as my positions and what we have heard as far as concerns here at the agency. Everything.
Is the sound coming through okay for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is down there at the website to sum up the concerns that we have. It's a reasonable conversation, debate to be had amongst the American public and in Congress as to whether or not some private actor should be able to just say on their own that they're going to go ahead and just do it Government doesn't have the power to stop them, and they're just going to, kind of decide to play God on their own. And if you ask me for my personal opinion,
yes, sir,
I have a problem with that. And the fact is that geoengineering is real. It's something that the U.S. government has acknowledged for a long time. Solar radiation modification, stratospheric aerosol injection, marine cloud brightening, weather modification, cloud seeding. Some of this stuff has a history that's going back many decades. Some of this stuff has history of government funding as recently as over the course of the last few years during the Biden administration. So the questions that the government that the people are asking of government is very fair. It's important for the people and the public to make sure that they understand what these things are individually, and you don't just confuse it all. Like if you just see some picture of a whole bunch of high altitude aircraft over your house where the conditions are very hot, jet fuel exhaust is coming in contact with low temperature air in high humidity that is causing that cloud exhaust fume to be that cloud to exist for longer than a few minutes. What you shouldn't do is say, that is marine that is stratospheric aerosol injection, that is solar radiation modification, that is geoengineering. You start confusing terms and definitions, you will start losing your own credibility of your own question, of your own argument.
Why would the
Yeah,
government ever
that's
allow?
absolutely true. Like weather modification. Where's the sound coming from? Still coming through. Okay. Yeah, that is absolutely true. You've got weather modification that is real. This has been a discussion on our Peasants Pod living room. We've been talking about weather modification on and off for years now. So there's different types of weather modification, right? First of all, you have the contrails, which is just, it's a hot day, high atmospheric, whatever. But people look up and they're like, oh, they're poisoning us, and oh, they're doing whatever. And those are just, that's happening. The plane's flying, leaves the exhaust vapor. They're not doing anything to do that. But then on the other hand, you do have projects where they're putting, what do they call it? Sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere and actually trying to block out the sun. That is one thing. And that's probably not good. And that's where he says we're playing God. Then you've got the cloud seeding, which is very localized, snowpack, that kind of thing. And he's like, they're all different things with different purposes. And you can't just look at it all and be like, it's all bad. You got to break it out into its little parts.
What I don't like about what he said was that he was trying to make it sound like if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, we don't like that, but he's I didn't take it that as much. He's like, you need to be clear on what you're talking about. Like, these are different buckets of what's happening, and we might really not want to block out the sun, but when you really look at the cloud seeding, that's a good thing.
Right. And the way he framed that was like, if you don't know what you're talking about, then you lose credibility. Well, if you lose your credibility, then why are you even talking? Kind of thing.
I think that's what he's saying, is like all the quote, we'll use pejoratively, all the conspiracy theorists that are tying in contrails with chemtrails and cloud seed. These are not they're different things. They're doing it in different ways. But the big thing was, and we covered this a week and a half ago, is they're releasing a lot of information to the public. The biggest thing here is the government has been, like he said, giving the people the middle finger. We're just doing this. We don't care. No disclosure, no transparency. Yeah. And they've allowed the conversation of what contrails are to slip into cloud seeding and blocking out the sun, that these are not all the same thing. And so if you're, pointing at an airplane saying they're poisoning us, that's inaccurate. The plane that's poisoning you is actually over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
But don't blame United Airlines. You need to blame the DARPA plane over there.
That's right.
The one that's higher than you can see. That kind of thing. So I don't know. I thought that was. I think it's good. I actually really appreciate what Lee Zeldin's doing at the EPA. He's bringing a lot of transparency to a lot of stuff. I've heard a lot of people saying he's outshining all the other ones as far as the cuts he's making and, regulatory rollback and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. It's funny, he lost his bid for governor, but now he's at the EPA. let's just bid for governor in New York, but now he's at the EPA. And it almost makes me wonder if he'll ultimately, in the long term, have more impact at the EPA than he would have as governor of New York. You know, because that EPA stuff affects everything. Here's a okay. Now we're moving on to the topic of the month. Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh,
I really thought we closed this chapter the other day. I actually think yesterday was a pretty good day as far as the narrative goes. And here's my take on this. No matter what they do with Jeffrey Epstein material, it will never be enough.
No.
They could prosecute 20 people and people are going to go, well, where's the 21st?
Where's the rest?
There have to be thousands of these people, right? Where's the rest? And so it's put the Trump administration in an absolutely unwinnable political scenario, because no matter what, because of the nature of the Epstein allegations, the rumor mill. I mean, remember, some of these allegations include things like he's reptilian. Okay. So, you know, oh, hey, look, we got 9 of his people that he was flying down to the thing. And they were like, yeah, but where's the reptilians? You know, it's never going to stop. So wrap your head around that. There will never be a moment where there will not be people that say we have full disclosure and it's over. There will always be, you know, more. And so this right here, I missed this. I was in prison, clearly. I missed this interview with Donald Trump, and it's with the Fox and Friends crew, and he's talking about some of his campaign promises. This is worth taking a listen to, because what Trump promised about the Epstein list is a little bit different than the way we interpreted things.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Can you hear that okay, Ron? Is that full sound for you? Yeah. Okay.
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least.
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It'd be interesting to find out what happened there, because that was a weird situation, and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would definitely do January 6th, because, beyond all of them, because what happened, how about the Unselect Committee? They had meetings, you know, they had all Democrats and 2 failed Republicans.
So he goes on to basically talk about wanting to do disclosure. But the thing is, there is when he's asked, will you release it after Epstein files? Less so. You know, we don't want to. There's a lot of phony information. This is before he was in office. This is while he's campaigning, right? These are promises he's going to make. And he, even back then, he's like, yeah, I'll release things, but like less so, because, you know, a lot of it's phony and you don't want to hurt people that have these phony files. And of course, Donald Trump yesterday with John Solomon, he had a long interview. I want to play this whole clip. It's 5 minutes and 28 seconds. So settle in, grab your coffee. It's a longer clip than we usually like to play on a live stream, but I think it's totally worth it, because Donald Trump is coming out and he's talking about kind of everything that's going on, and John Solomon and his partner here, they probe with the right questions. So settle in, take a listen, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Put it on presentation. We're not watching the video. Now I don't got sound.
If I actually shared the screen, took myself off mute, we could probably get this done here.
There we go.
There we go.
Good.
I want to dive into something we confirmed earlier this week. The FBI under Kash Patel has opened a grand conspiracy case looking at the last decade of weaponization against you and the protection of Democrats like Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton as one ongoing criminal conspiracy. I want to ask what you think of that approach and whether you think a special prosecutor might be warranted.
Well, I'm happy that they did that. I don't know much about it, but it deserves to be done. It was a disgrace what happened. And what happened in 2016 and what happened in 2020. It's a disgraceful situation, and our voting has to be straightened out. I always say If you don't have borders, if you don't have fair and free voting, you don't have a country. And we have disgraceful voting that they spend all of this money on voting, and some of the votes don't come back for weeks later. The whole thing it's a scam, and we have to straighten it out.
For all the things that have happened, there's the Russia collusion against you. There is Jack Smith against you. There's all the things that happened in 2020, not investigating China interference in the 2020 election. What are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. They don't have they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy. They have bad candidates. They have bad everything, but they stick together. The Republicans don't do that, but they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
No, they definitely set the Republicans up. One big prosecutor look at it all. Would that make you feel good, you think?
Well, I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files, just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
They took 2 years to figure that out for the people. And all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yep. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. But especially you look at that Steele dossier where they paid like 14 or 16 million. That's more than James Patterson gets paid to do a #1 bestseller.
Isn't that crazy?
And the thing turned out to be a total scam. So frankly, I think I love that they're looking at all this stuff. If they are, I hope they are.
Yeah, we've definitely confirmed it. They definitely are.
Mr. President, this is something that could give the American people answers on 3 different elections, 2016, 2020, and 2024. But to get that rolling, there are 2 sets of documents that are key to identifying possible conspiracy. But a grand jury can't see them unless you declassify them. Would you declassify the classified annex in the Hillary Clinton email case, as Senator Grassley has been asking?
Well, I would do that. I would do that. Absolutely. I think it should be looked at. The whole thing was a scam.
Yeah.
And I would do that gladly.
Great. And there's one other one I want to mention. In the Durham report, they talk about the Clinton plan. Agency intercept where Hillary.
Okay.
That they're looking at all this stuff.
About the Clinton plan intelligence, the intercept where Hillary Clinton approves
Who knows?
Hanging that Russian shingle on your campaign house. That's another one that hasn't yet been declassified. Was that another one you'd consider declassifying?
I would declassify it. Yeah, why not? I would absolutely declassify it. And I will say this, the Durham report was preceded by the Horowitz report.
That's
and
right.
Bill Barr should have used the Horowitz report. You didn't need the Durham report because
That's right.
Say what you want about Mr. Horowitz, though. He was appointed by Democrats, but he wrote the most vicious and true report that you've ever seen on somebody, and that was on James Comey.
Yep.
And I believe, a couple of the people in the FBI that were crooked. But this report was so big, and then go back and check, even the New York Times wrote a violent editorial about Comey based on this report.
Yep.
And for some reason, Bill Barr didn't use it. I never, it's such a disappointment, but he didn't use it. But that was one of the big things. And it got very little press. I think it was approximately 28 pages of corruption, absolute corruption.
You're right.
And that should have been used. Well, instead, Barr wanted to do a further report.
Yeah.
So we put Durham in charge, and Durham took years. I mean, it took so many years. I think it was just a tapping. I think you ought to look at that too. Why did they tap it along? They tapped it along forever. Do you remember how long it took for Durham to come out with his report?
23.
By the time he came out with a report, everybody was old and looking to retire.
Yeah, you're exactly right. No
Mr.
doubt.
President, I want to shift to the
But I'd love you to look at the Horowitz report. It was absolutely incredible and had more credibility because he's a Democrat.
That's right.
I remember when the Horowitz report came out, and I was like, yes, they're going to do something. And then we've appointed Durham, and all the Q people were like, Durham's got it, and he was appointed a special counsel by Jeff Sessions way earlier, and he's been on this the whole time. And then I can't remember his name. There was the attorney out in Utah that was supposed to be looking into the Clinton Foundation, and it just kind of like never happened. So one of the things that John Solomon lays out in his other interviews is he talks about this grand conspiracy case, that essentially what was going on was the Democrats would get in trouble. So Hillary Clinton pays for the Russia information, right? And then and she's got connections with Russia and et cetera, and they turn around and they smear it onto Donald Trump. They project it onto him, and he takes all the heat. Meanwhile, they're like, oh, it goes away. Hunter Biden gets in trouble in Ukraine, has some tax problems. Boom. Ukraine impeachment, number one. Joe Biden finds classified documents in his garage. Boom. Classified documents case against Donald Trump, right? I mean, everything that they were doing, they projected onto Trump. So now think about Jeffrey Epstein. Why are we talking about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, right? Jeffrey didn't give up information on him. His attorney says we asked if he had anything because DOJ would basically give him a sweetheart deal. He had nothing. Ghislaine Maxwell in prison to one of RJ Sixers who was living in her open dorm and spent a decent amount of time with her, Jessica Watkins. Okay, she says Ghislaine said they had no interest in her until Jeffrey died, and they came to her and she asked the question, why are people asking about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and not Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein? That's Ghislaine Maxwell saying that in prison to an inmate that we know, right? So again, the world got really small with January 6th. Why are we talking about Donald Trump? Why is he getting all the heat and all the smearing? There wasn't calls for declassification of Epstein things when Biden was president, right? They've totally painted on him. So when Trump's like, yeah, we're not just going to release all this information, it's because a lot of that could be fabricated, just like the Russia evidence, just like the Ukraine evidence, just like the classified documents evidence. All of it is being projected, and that's, I don't know that Trump's like, we're not going to release things, but he's like, listen, there's a bunch of junk in there. And if you don't think these prosecutors and people like that plan ahead, of course they do. It's called war planning. They game plan out years in advance the way they're going to push the public narrative. This Epstein thing was a scandal in a bottle, ready to go for everyone. Are there victims? Yes. Are there people who probably should be brought to justice? I'm sure of it. But at the same time, it's a process. Now, Clandestine said this. He's a post that oftentimes posts really good like intel analysis. He says this, quote, I just care about the kids. Bullshit. Trump shut down the Epstein operation in 2018. If you remember when Trump came into office, he signed an executive order that could seize the assets of anybody involved in human trafficking or anything like that. In 2018, when Epstein was arrested the first time, they shut down whatever ring he was involved with or who, whatever was going on, they shut that down. If you cared about the kids, you would be praising Trump for securing the border, shutting down the human trafficking corridor, arresting traffickers, and saving children who are being abused currently. If you cared about the kids, you wouldn't be calling for the firing of Bondi, Cash, and Bongino, who have been cleaning up satanic abuse and child exploitation networks. Yes, the 738 or 768 group that has hundreds of individuals that were trading in child pornography and things like that, hundreds of those people have been arrested, and hundreds of children were rescued in Florida and other areas from that operation. And that's recently. That's like in the last couple weeks. If you cared about the kids, He wouldn't be trashing, saving hundreds of children from abuse. They unleashed Operation Restore Justice and locked up hundreds of pedos nationwide 2 months ago. And none of the people crying now said anything at the time. If you cared about the kids, you wouldn't be trashing a man who has done more to combat human trafficking worldwide than any leader in history. Trump has used more executive power to address human trafficking than anyone. You people complaining about Trump and his administration don't care about the children. You people just want scalps. You just want to say, I told you so. Anyone trying to sow discord amongst Trump supporters or divide his cabinet, you are the pedo protectors. You are the ones trying to derail Trump's progress and remove his appointees who are hunting them down and stopping trafficking routes. Ignorant fools. I thought that was pretty good because, again, and he goes on to say, observe the timeline. Southern District of New York withholds Epstein docs and files from Bondi. Supreme Court unblocks Trump's EO to begin firings at government agencies. And yesterday, guess who got fired from the DOJ? Comey's daughter got fired from the Southern District of New York.
What?
Trump hints that Comey loyalists doctored the Epstein files. There's a shadow war going on. Patience. That's what he says. Now, let me grab the article here. I was so nervous about getting this stream started today. I forgot to grab one of the articles that I had in my head I wanted to do. Okay, so Maureen Comey got fired. So Marie Comey got fired here. So let me share this screen. Okay, so Marie Comey got fired. And Marie Comey, who prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein. So Maureen Comey, daughter of James Comey, prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Puff Daddy. All three of them. Okay. Maureen Comey, who prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein as former FBI Director Comey's daughter, was fired Wednesday from her job in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, which was formerly called the Southern District of New York. According to two people familiar with the matter who were granted anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. Oh my gosh. The reason for her firing was not immediately clear. Really? It wasn't clear? It's not obvious?
It's not in her name?
Huh?
It's not in her name.
Yeah, it's not in your name. She did not immediately respond to phone calls, and an email-seeking comment says the people who tried to interview her. Comey has worked on the U.S. Attorney's Office for nearly a decade, prosecuted both Epstein and associate Ghislaine Maxwell. In recent weeks, President Donald Trump and Pam Bondi have faced a firestorm of criticism over their decision not to release additional files related to Epstein. The disgraced financier, I love that. They label it that way, who was accused of running a child sex trafficking ring. Prosecutors in the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office, including Comey, charged Epstein in 2019 with sex trafficking of minors. He died by suicide in jail, awaiting trial on those charges. Anyways, she and then she of course got Maxwell and then P. Diddy, which they failed to convict P. Diddy on the highest of charges. And it's my estimation that P. Diddy will probably get a smaller sentence than I got for pushing a bike rack, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So this idea that like Trump's guilty, he's protecting him, that's not the case. They've already released quite a bit of information, but you'll never be happy with it. There's never going to be enough information because the nature of the rumors, the nature of the allegations, there's always more. There's always more, right? It's prove your innocence. It's impossible. You can't prove. And yeah, so that's the thing. Then Clay Higgins, in a committee hearing yesterday, shared this. So if you don't think that, they're serious about stopping all this nefarious activity, this is what Clay Higgins had to say in his hearing yesterday. They've already recovered 35,000 of these kids that were trafficked across the southern border. And he calls them tender age children. So my understanding is tender age children are really young kids.
And according to my research, which will very soon be revealed next week, they've rescued so far 35,000 tender age kids. Hey, like that. Now,
a tender age kid, which he's using intentionally, typically an infant or toddler or a very young child who is considered especially vulnerable due to their age and developmental stage. So we're not talking about 14-year-olds or 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds. We're talking about tender age kids. These are like probably kids under 10.
According to Ms. Hopper's research, which I find fascinating, everybody up here should, 70% of the documentation turned in by so-called sponsors, which were lined up by who? NGOs. Who? Primarily HHS. The pipeline, man. We fed a pipeline of tender age children into sex trafficking and slave labor into our country. We're finding these kids. We're tracking this fraudulent documents. You're right, Ms. Hopper. My research showed a little bit less, 65%. You said 70%. I'll give it 70. So be advised. Be advised. We are building out case files, criminal case files. We're interviewing these 35,000 kids, and we're finding out exactly what the hell happened, how they ended up in the nightmare where they were, and we're rescuing more. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. We're going to identify these children. We're locating these children. We're rescuing these children, and we're building out criminal files based upon the testimony of these young teenagers and the documentation of fraudulent vetting. And many of these NGO employees are going to find themselves wearing orange, be their new favorite color. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the indulgence. I yield.
Wow. So they've got 35,000 tender age kids, and then at the end he mentions young teenagers. They're interviewing, building out case files, and they're going to go after the NGOs and the people who helped fraudulently vet these people who took these kids in. That is a lot of kids, Ron. 35,000 kids. That's like, I mean, that's a decent sized town, man.
If you break it down to rough numbers, that's about 700, 800 a state.
700 or 800 a state. Well, that's what they've recovered. I mean,
Right.
Robert Kennedy Jr. said it was it 300? I mean, we knew 300 and we've heard 500, but 300,000 kids. I mean, that's like 2/3 of Wyoming.
Right.
That's pretty significant. It's beyond belief. Like, it's hard to comprehend how the scale of what they were doing. They industrialized the trafficking. The slavers bringing, people across the transatlantic slave trade would be put to shame by what the Joe Biden administration was able to accomplish in 4 short years. I mean, unreal. And we're out here, we want to know about we want to know about an elite pedo. It's like, guys, there's pedos probably in your neighborhood. I mean, it's that bad. And so I'm just like, I agree with the clandestine account. Listen, if you're trying to criticize Trump, you ain't got better options. There's no one else that was going to come into office and do what he has done on this particular front. No one else was going to do it. Yeah. There are no other options. So, maybe it's not 100%, but it's dang near 98%. You know what I mean? Like, they're putting everything they can to this. This stuff is complicated. Finding the kids, getting the kids. It's just like what Mike Rowe was saying at the beginning. AI is coming for your jobs, right? It can replace a lot of things, but you're never going to get rid of the electricians and the people who work with their hands. You literally have to go and collect these children. It's not just enough to be like, oh yeah, here's some paperwork for them. No, you have to go find the living person and bring them out of the hell that they're living in. It is stunning. I'm really glad that Clay Higgins said that. Kind of puts it in perspective. It'll be interesting to see if the zeitgeist starts to change now that Trump is clarifying a little bit. And yeah, I hope it does, because it's been very annoying. I'm totally done with the Jeffrey Epstein thing, but is what it is. I would like to see the proof. Not that I don't trust people that deserve none. Proof of what? We all want to see proof. Just don't be disappointed. Yeah, my expectations are low.
That was me.
My expectations are low, yeah. And remember, they got Al Capone on tax fraud. So, we all know what he did. He's a murderer, thug, mobster. Not in the eyes of the law. In the eyes of the law, he's just tax fraud. I mean, that's all they could really get them on. And I would imagine a lot of these people, it's going to be similar. There's not a lot you can really get them on because they're smart, right? What did Donald Trump say to Hillary Clinton? It's a good thing people like you are in charge of the law. You'd be in jail.
I understand the tax code because
hold on a second. Bye-bye YouTube. You're never going to see those kids. You're never going to see those kids. They're victims. They're never going to be disclosed. It's not going to happen. Never going to happen. If my kid was molested, the last thing I'm going to do is let him go on the news or trot him out and be like, oh, here's justice. Absolutely never going to happen. Not going to happen.
That's just a second victimization.
Even if they go to trial, they're going to go to trial as Jane Does and John Does. It's never going to happen.
No.
Yep. Again, you'll never be satisfied with what disclosure they can provide. You're never going to get
even in statutory rape cases, which I've been a part of. I was on a jury for one. They never mentioned the kid's name, and even in this case, it was a statutory rape case where the victim was, I believe, 16. They still did not mention her name ever. It was a little bit confusing because they kept mentioning her by a case code.
Yeah. It's never going to happen. They're victims, and it's never going to happen. In fact, the victims that have come forward, part of the thing is victims like that usually don't come forward. And, you've got Virginia Giuffre, who falsely alleged a couple people and then backed off. So, okay, well, these people did rape me, but these people didn't, even though I did say they did. It's a huge credibility problem. I'm not saying she's not a victim. I'm not doing that. I'm saying it creates a problem. It creates a problem in the eyes of the law. And in addition, they have to be protected. I mean, think of it as being your kid. You're not going to trot them out and re-victimize them by making them public. And like you said, even in the trial themselves, that information is kept hidden. So yeah, we're never going to see those victims. Those 35,000 kids, we're never going to see them unless they choose to come forward on their own, which percentage-wise, very few will. It's not going to happen. All right. That's all the basic information I got today. Lots of stuff happening. Let's all say our prayers tonight that they abolish the IRS. I definitely am. Okay. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Of course, go check out, it's the bullshit they show those kids in the detention centers. I don't know about, the detention center kids are, I think, border crossers, but it doesn't matter. All right, guys. So we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Don't forget to check out 1776 Live, which, by the way, on Saturday, we're doing a big launch. Go to 1776live.us. There's a place where you can register for a webinar I'm going to be doing on Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Love to have you guys there. Also, leftbehindandwithout.org, and, find us on the socials. Let's have a good time. If you haven't made a comment on YouTube, you're going to have a minute to do that while I try to find the outro. Give me just a minute to find the outro. Let's see. Where would I find the outro? Oh, isn't this great? I know it's somewhere. We'll get it pretty quick. Give me a second.
All right.
How's your trip?
It's great. We're in Meridian.
That's where I grew up.
Yeehaw. It's warm.
Yeah.
So we're heading out. As soon as I get off here, we're taking off.
And where's your final destination? What state are you heading to?
We're heading to Utah today, and then we'll be in Utah for a couple days, and then we're heading on to Colorado. So
I'm going through my.
Now the whole world knows.
Big state, though. It's going to be hard to find you.
Yeah.
I'm going through my X feed.
Well, hey, how about this? If you find me, this is like a Where's Waldo. I'll buy you a drink. Find me, I'll buy you a drink.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, there's not going to be any outro today, guys.
All right.
You're peasants. All right. We'll talk to you guys all later. Bye.